So, welcome back to Pax Europiana, the podcast about peace and European unity. It's now the end of April 2021 in a short message, because some friends told me I should make short videos, 2 minutes only, so I will repeat this. It is important to have Moldova, the EU potential candidate status, Ukraine, EU potential candidate status, and Georgia, EU potential candidate status. Now the President, Michel, he has negotiated with the help of Danielson this peace agreement or kind of conciliation agreement in Georgia. Very good. We have in Moldova early election, it seems now, after this mid-April crisis. Yeah? And in Ukraine, obviously, the troops of Russia have a bit withdrawn, but obviously there's still war going on in Donbass and the occupation of Crimea is going on. So all three countries need more support. Whole of Eastern Europe needs more support, no doubt, and we have to do things. We have to really get going. And this kind of lazy elite, non-decision making, this kind of paralyzation of Europe, in Eastern Europe and in Europe itself, not only with the crisis, but also with the indecision of Angela Merkel, obviously. It's one of the big problems. And now it has to come to an end. And we need this enlargement summit now in June, where the Americans basically make clear that this kind of lack of leadership, lack of openness, this kind of racist, xenophobic exclusion of Eastern Europe, this lack of responsibility of the European Union in Eastern Europe has to come to an end. And it obviously needs American leadership, because we have not managed in the last 15 years to get our act together. I was in the 2000s very active already to make sure that this will be changed. But okay, it's my own tragedy, maybe you might say. But what is needed is very clear. It's very, very logical, and it's so absolutely necessary. It is a clear EU perspective for the countries who are now either EU potential candidates countries already. That means Kosovo and Bosnia upgraded to full candidacy, and the three countries in Eastern Europe which have only an association agreement, they need to be full potential candidate countries. The implications is basically financially, in a sense, and also in the perspective and feeling. The one thing is that the future is clear, one day they will be in the EU. The secondly is also they will be applicable for IPA funding, for the instruments of pre-accession. That is very important, because now we don't do enough for Moldova and for Ukraine and for Georgia financially. And with IPA, obviously this will change. And you see also this kind of lack of leadership is also connected to xenophobia, as I said, and racism, but also to greed, and the non-willingness to give the real full pre-accession instruments to Ukraine and to Georgia and to Moldova. That is very mean. That's basically really like financial, greedy, and mean, and that's very bad. And when it comes now to the summit in June, I've talked now many times already about this upcoming summit, but now it's confirmed. The American president will come to Brussels and to London, first for the G7 summit and for the NATO summit, and then there will be a joint US-EU summit. So it's absolutely vital that here the clear direction for the integration of the three new members, Albania, and yesterday were elections. It went all smoothly, so Albania is ready for the EU. Macedonia, yes. Montenegro, absolutely anyhow ready. So the three countries in the European Union voting already in European Parliament 2024. And then you have the 12 countries for NATO, and that means Ukraine, Moldova, Georgia, obviously, Serbia as well. Maybe you have listened to the President Sedillo now, the former president of Kosovo. Very clearly, everybody has to be in NATO, and so everybody is secure of each other. It's so logical. Serbia, Bosnia in NATO, and then obviously these lazy 6 rich neutrals from Cyprus, Malta, Ireland, Finland and Austria. Yes, here, this country. And they have to be all in Finland, Sweden, Austria, Ireland, Cyprus, Malta, 6. So it's 12. And that is all the invitations must be happening now in June 2021, and then obviously it takes some process, some preparation, some years to ratify and all these things. So then we anyhow need the next 22, 23 to get all these things done, technically the preparations and all the regulatory adjustments and the financing and all these things. And so it takes until 2024 to make this all happening. Not it's entirely possible. We have done it before. That's why I do all these interviews about Romania, Bulgaria. I miss one for Romania actually. I will find an interesting speaker for Romania as well. But it's quite logical that this all worked very fine. So we need to do it again. And it is the reason why we are so successful in Europe, because we did it in the 2000s. That means enlargement. Yeah. And now the enlargement process also with Ukraine, Moldova, Georgia will be very good for stability and therefore for prosperity in all Europe. And it's absolutely necessary to get it done. So it's a small step, and I think when you see, there are some who say then Russia will start a war for the EU potential candidate status, which most Europeans and most Russians, I'm sure, nobody really knows what is the EU potential candidate status. Yeah? So there will be no war for this, that's absolutely sure, and we can just get going and get it done, and I think it's the way forward. Yeah? And that's I think the most important here, the enlargement summit. I made this Twitter poll, if you can like it please. It's beautiful with all the flags, and so I love it very much. And to get this done is very good. And then also to make sure that we have also the Eurozone enlargement. Never forget it. I always started with that because I had this Bulgarian interview now, and it was such a clear decision for the currency pact, 25 years now, and that's something to celebrate as well. And that's the best policy also for Ukraine, for Moldova. I decided now to focus a bit more on Moldova because I really like it and I think it's going quite good. And now we have these new elections coming up, so Moldova will be one of my focuses. Yeah? I don't have so many contacts in Moldova, so it would be good if anybody has some idea who to interview and discuss about it, because Moldova we should not lose again, because otherwise I think Michel really should resign, and with him also Tusk and Ursula, all these people who, when they fail Moldova again and Russia wins in Moldova, and then we are like, absolutely, then we have to look for new political elite in Europe. We definitely have to ask them all to go home to their places, and we need then for 2022 new people. I have now, and I was very clear that we don't necessarily have now to have a new council president, because he had now, at least in Georgia, he has started to get his act together and he was very useful on that one. So that's fine, yeah. He is now, I think maybe he can improve. Yeah? But if he now in Moldova fails and he is not really very active in Eastern Europe, which is his duty as a council president, then I think he would have to be replaced by Klaus Iohannis. I made that already clear. While I'm also not happy with the Romanians, don't forget, yeah, the Romanians have now delayed the Eurozone entry for 2028. Yeah. That's a whole mandate again lost for Eurozone enlargement in Romania. I mean, with some excuses, but ultimately because they have very few debts, they are not ready to join European Union, where Italy has 3 times the debt and Greece 4 times the debt of Romania. So it's now that we are such a bad proposition today that not even the Romanians want to join. It's not convergence, because convergence they have all done. And that's the status today, and it's kind of sad. Anyhow, I will make a podcast specifically about Romania now as well. I thought about it because I'm very angry about this delay, 28, to delay it so long. But that's really very annoying, because maybe Moldova is ready for Euro adoption, and that would be of course one way to pressure the Romanians maybe to join, when the Romanians are somehow encircled by the Moldovans and by the Ukrainians adopting the Euro. That is such a great plan of mine. But maybe won't happen. Yeah, it's a sad story. Not all my plans happen. But at least, it could be that there is also the chance that the Romanians at least have some decency and cut the corporation tax down from 16 to 10. That would be at least something in a way of progress. Otherwise, with all this hope we had that there will be a pro-European government now, and all this kind of improvements from the socialists of the last 6-7 years, now then it's a bit of a disappointment. No tax cuts, no Eurozone. I mean, again, for me it's a total disappointment, but okay. Anyhow, now I see that I think Moldova is maybe the key in between, because in Ukraine, unfortunately, there is not a big reform drive today. They are a little bit sleepy, and they seem to have a typical case of this arrogance of ignorance and too happy with themselves. They not seem to really get going. It's a mystery for me. Mr. Zelensky does 2-3 things which he thinks pleases Mr. Biden, and then again no major reform anywhere. It's a bit annoying, but okay. I will also find some more interview partners for Ukraine. I think that's good, but in the meantime I will focus on Georgia and also on Albania and Moldova. That is now the priority for the coming weeks and for the coming week. And I will then also focus a lot on the 1st of May, on the International Celebration Day of EU Enlargement, which is the 1st of May. Some also celebrate the Day of Labor and Work. I'm absolutely against that socialist holiday, but it can be transformed into the Day of Enlargement, because it was the 1st of May 2004 when the EU enlarged with 10 new countries, and that was of course game-changing and really significant. And thanks George Bush for supporting EU enlargement and NATO enlargement in that important year 2004. And maybe the American president is now ready to do similar leadership and get the Europeans going, because they are so lazy. Yeah? If you leave them alone, they will never accept any new country. Racist, lazy, and how you do when you don't want to spend money? Mean, yeah? Is it that way? Yeah, that's unfortunately the triple values of European Union. Yeah? Not sharing money, not sharing security, and also then excluding and being racist. Yeah? This is the sad situation of Europe today in 2021, and only with American leadership we can really open up the European Union and European NATO, obviously, to get more countries in and get this done. And all these kind of multilateralists who are talking nice on Sunday, but then don't want to join NATO on Monday, and don't want Albania in the EU on Tuesday, and don't want to have Ukraine safer or closer, not even as EU potential candidate. They are the hypocrites of Europe. Yeah? You know, they have to be confronted. Their bluff has to be called, because they always say, yes, we are totally for multilateralism, yeah, very good. But joining, membership, for what? For Ukraine, for Albania? No. Eurozone for Romania? No. This is hypocrisy, and this is really black war. This is the way we are doing it now, and that's a bit of a disaster. And I hope that Biden will sorting the Europeans out. Macron must be tackled, I say again, and the Germans are anyhow confused, and it's now the moment to get things done in Europe again. And I hope that Biden will come with a lot of energy and clarity and will open up Europe, crack it up, because it's like a ouster. And then the beautiful countries of Albania, Macedonia, Montenegro cannot join. And that's of course very bad for our overall prosperity and security, and for peace in Europe. It's a big problem. And also this kind of hypocrite Austrians, like from here, they are all happy with themselves, but they don't want to share anything, nor they want to contribute. So that must be also confronted. Not everybody might join the NATO ultimately, but there should be a clear wish from the Americans that the Austrians shall join. And in May, I will anyhow do the month of NATO enlargement, from the 1st of May to exactly the 15th of May as well, when it's the day of Austrian State Treaty. I hope that I can do some activity in order to make sure that Austria should be in NATO. That is important, and all the other countries as well. That's a bit for the next weeks, and the main activity, please check out. We have also this interview series about economic transformation in Eastern Europe. I will try to find interesting speaking partners from all Eastern European transformation countries, and then also to go again in the podcast, maybe to subscribe it, to like it, that would be very kind, and to support it on Patreon if you want. I have on listeners, I have now good results. Over 13,000 have listened to my podcast now, and 120 subscribers here on YouTube. But maybe there's also a bigger ocean of interested people in Eastern European reform history and in how to unite Europe ultimately. That's my podcast, and unity is the key to peace, and prosperity is the result, and it all goes hand in hand. That's my podcast. Thanks for liking it, and all the best. It was 14 minutes now. I hope it was not too much. See you.